Hello and welcome to Business Arena on TVP World. I'm your host, Marie Cato. Join me for the latest business headlines of the day. The Czech refinery at Litvinov is again receiving crude supplies via the Druzhba pipeline, says Unipetrol, the company that owns the facility. The announcement comes after a short pause in deliveries, the cause of which is still unknown. The oil flow came to a halt on Thursday, but the refinery didn't stop working because it had a crude storage amounting to 1 week's worth. The Czech government, however, offered release of oil from strategic stockpiles, which would keep the facility going for a month. The Czech Republic, still relies on Russia for most of its oil supplies, but the government says that starting next year's crude supply will flow from the Italian port of Trieste via a new pipeline under construction. Today's release of October industrial production data by the German Statistics Office is compounding market fears of a possible recession in the country. This pessimism coming out of Germany is making waves across Europe and most notably here in the Central and Eastern European region.
Economists had been hoping for signs of recovery in Germany this quarter. The Statis, Germany's statistics office, crushed those hopes Friday, with industrial production showing results below even the worst expectations. In this very critical part of the German economy, output decreased by 1% from the previous month, spurred on mainly by a sharp drop in energy production, while automotive output fell by 1.9%.
That's not surprising because industrial production is on a declining trend since the end of 2018.
If we take a glance at the Statis seasonally adjusted index, it's clear this downward trend has even sharpened since early last year. Looking at quarter-on-quarter GDP figures, Germany has been playing hide-and-seek with technical recession status since the end of 2022. This has forced economists to consider deeper structural issues as well as changes in the global economy.
Germany is facing, to a large extent, a restructuring of its economy. China can now produce the same quality, the same complexity of products for industrial products. And that is actually something that will not go away.
The German government has been coming up with sector-specific stimuli, energy subsidies and domestic demand incentives, but many see these as just kicking the can down the road.
But when you face structural problems, then these structural problems will stay. So you can launch this sort of measure and of course you would generate temporarily higher demand, but that will not solve the structural problems underlying that. You're just postponing the problem. But you're postponing the problem to a very large price or a high price.
Germany losing competitiveness is not only a German problem, it's also a problem for Central Europe.
Germany is not just one of the 27 EU members. Germany represents quarter of the EU's GDP, over 27% of the manufacturing output of the total EU.
Germany is the top export partner for every Visegrad 4 country. It takes the top spot in the Czech Republic, taking in 33% of its exports. This is followed by Poland, Hungary and Slovakia, all sending over 20% of their exports to Germany. With most of these exports serving the supply chains of German manufacturers, anxiety about Germany's next steps remains high.
Germany's deteriorating economic situation has attracted more than enough attention and concern in recent months. With Donald Trump due to become the 47th president of the USA, the transatlantic dynamic will change in 2025, some say with a degree of unpredictability. Stay with us for The Bottom Line to find out more. The head of the Polish central bank raised eyebrows on Thursday with his statement that no interest rate cuts are planned for the coming year. Economists, however, are optimistic that this will not be the case.
Surprises are not the typical order of business in monetary policy. Well, maybe except for Poland. Case in point, the unexpectedly hawkish stance of Adam Glapiński, the National Bank of Poland's governor.
Nearly half of the MPC members have said that a rate cut will at least be discussed after March is over. Now there is talk that this discussion will begin in October, but that doesn't mean this discussion will lead to a rate cut. That's postponed until 2026.
Why is this surprising? Perhaps because, following recent monetary policy meetings, Glapiński had maintained that interest rate cuts could be introduced in the first half of 2025.
Statement of Governor Glapiński was in contrast to market expectations. We had quite a dovish conference a month ago, so everybody in the market expected that.
Glapiński justifies this backtracking by the government's decision to freeze energy prices in the better part of 2025. As he showed in his presentation, after the subsidies end, inflation will gain speed in the third quarter. However, the one member of the 10-person Monetary Policy Council who has spoken to the media doesn't share Glapiński's view.
So far, we got only a statement from Professor Wnorowski. He said that the discussion about interest rate cuts in March is still valid. He mentioned that and the electricity prices may go up, but this increase may be neutralized by other factors.
With no additional pressure on prices expected for the second half of 2025, ING projects a slightly more relaxed monetary policy next year, with space for a 75 basis point cut.
The European Commission has ended negotiations over a free trade deal with 5 South American countries, members of the Mercosur alliance. However, the deal, despite being 25 years in the making, still faces an uncertain future. The deal aims to create a free trade zone with 700 million people. The negotiations took almost a quarter of a century because of numerous issues. Lately, farmers in Europe have been very vocal in their opposition to the deal, which they say will be very detrimental to food production in the EU. The protests prompted some European governments, including that of France and Poland, to say that they won't support the deal. The agreement now has to be ratified either by parliaments in member states or by the European Parliament and the European Council. The exact way still hasn't been chosen. Russia is easing payment rules for its energy exports and no longer requiring buyers to route payments through Gazprom Bank, a sanctioned financial institution. This move, announced under Vladimir Putin's decree, aims to ensure smooth energy trade with some European countries still heavily reliant on Russian supplies.
Late on Thursday, Vladimir Putin signed a decree eliminating the mandate that foreign customers settle Russian gas payments solely through Gazprom Bank. Soon after the decree was announced, the bank reaffirmed its position as the principal clearing avenue for energy transactions. However, Moscow hinted that international buyers may engage with other financial institutions to exchange their funds into rubles before finalizing payments.
Putin has revoked a decree he himself introduced at the end of 2022. As a result, contractors will use different institutions, front banks set up to bypass sanctions and channel hard currency into Russia's war effort.
According to Rapidan Energy Group, European buyers can still secure Russian pipeline gas without breaching sanctions. The United States' Office of Foreign Assets Control could grant general licenses to allow energy-related transactions with sanctioned banks like Gazprom Bank if needed. Such arrangements already cover major Russian financial institutions including Sberbank, Alfa Bank, VTB and Vneshkonombank until late April next year, safeguarding continued gas supplies to Austria, Slovakia and Hungary. The arrangement potentially enables foreign energy purchasers to employ alternative banking channels for their currency conversions, ensuring they can still ultimately remit the required ruble payments to Gazprom Bank.
Keep in mind that Russia operates as an oligarchic state. Certain top-level political decisions aim to protect the country's elite, Putin's own circle of friends. At the same time, Putin seeks to shield himself from any potential revolt by these oligarchs if they begin losing money due to sanctions.
Despite tapping a diverse range of suppliers, Europe's gas market has grown fragile due to incoming halt of gas supplies via Ukraine. At the same time, European gas inventories stand at roughly 84% of capacity, around 10 percentage points less than at the same point last year, which heightens sensitivity to any supply glitches.
And that's all for our business news updates today. For more business stories, check out tvpworld.com.